This new Warlock Stormcaller Arc build is insane. I mean, the Stormcaller itself actually isn't, because the damage output is purely awful in my opinion when you're going up against tough adds and bosses, but on minor adds, it's amazing. Now with this new Arc 3.0 ability build, you will be able to run around chaining arc damage like the Stormcaller god you are. You'll be getting infinite arc abilities one after another that can clear adds like you've probably seen before with Void builds. Yeah, let's not talk about those. But what makes this build unique is that you'll become amplified that boosts your movement speed and have an increase to DPS with almost a 100% uptime, which is perfect for solo players who want to speedrun activities where you have a lot of adds, champions and mini bosses, because you will be able to melt them down to the ground quickly with this build. So guys, in this video, we're going to be going over this setup of the build, how it works, where you should be using it, and all that good stuff. So as always, be sure to leave a rating, comment what your favourite Arc build is below, subscribe and share for more, and now let's call in that Stormcaller. Now firstly, as always, like every build video here on the channel, if you do like this one and you want to see more builds like this, then you can find the full collection of new and updated builds in the playlist linked down below. So be sure to check that out because you might just find your new favourite build. But with this one today, we have a new Arc 3.0 ability build with the Warlock Stormcaller subclass, and while this does work really well in endgame PvE, it does have a few downsides to it. And the first thing straight away that I noticed was the damage at the super deals is just not that great. It's good for ad clearing on minor adds, but if you got tougher adds or even champions, you're better off just shooting them with a primary weapon, honestly. It's not good. And it's not just the Stormtrance super, the Chaos Reach is also the same, but if you are using a Chaos Reach with Geomags and a new Thunderous mod, it can actually output over 500,000 damage, making this become the third best Arc super in the game in terms of super DPS. So it really depends on how you use the build. So you can either use the Chaos Reach or the Stormtrance with this build, but the way we have it set up, your Stormtrance will be buffed due to the build. So if you do use Chaos Reach, then you'll miss out on a few things, but it's not that big of a deal anyway. You'll just have to make a few more changes. Now a quick example of how you'll use this build is first, use your grenade on a bunch of adds. This will spawn an Ionic Trace and an Arc Elemental Well, both of which will give you ability energy, and then you'll use your Rift and then get a weapon kill. This will spawn a Void Well, giving you damage reduction. But you're also having a huge Arc weapon damage increase, while also jolting enemies, blinding them and all sorts. Of course, this all depends on the type of weapon you use, but from here you will run around repeating what you just did by chaining between your abilities. And when you're using your melee ability, you will want to run, slide and then use your melee, as we are using a new one, and to me, this has to be one of the best Arc melee abilities in the game in my opinion. It's really fun to use as well. So you can use this build in a master activity whilst underpowered, and possibly even a GM. The abilities will still do a good amount of damage and should still kill the adds instantly, although survivability with this build is a bit of an issue because you can die pretty quickly, as we don't have any good sources of getting health back other than our Rift. But still a pretty good build to use in any activity. Just make sure that if you're using this one with a team, that you're not going to be wasting your abilities due to your allies stealing your kill. Otherwise the recharge rate is going to be a little pain, as you didn't get the final blow. Now going over the setup of this one, you ideally want to use Arc weapons since this is an Arc build, so good choices are Trinity Ghoul, Forbearance, Salvo, Plug 1 and Delicate. The new fusion rifle does have a special trait that overcharges the weapon's next shot, jolting enemies on hit after collecting an Ionic Trace. So that's a good weapon to use as well, but other choices are things like the Storm Chaser or a Thunderlord, since that has built-in overload rounds anyway. In terms of the super, we have the Stormcaller Stormtrance, but you can use the Chaos Reach if you prefer, although I'd only use that if you're going to use Geomags and a new artifact mod, otherwise it's not really worth running. The Rift is a healing one, and then we'll have the Chain Lightning melee with the Arc Bolt Grenade. You can use a Pulse Grenade if you prefer, but I thought the Arc Bolt paired really well with this build setup. As for the aspects, we have Electrostatic Mind, defeating targets with Arc abilities or defeating jolted or blinded targets creates an Ionic Trace, and then collecting them will make you amplified. So since this is an Arc ability build, we are always going to be amplified. Now you could run a GL with blinding nades. That could make the build pretty good since you can blind enemies non-stop. But the second aspect we are going to run is Lightning Surge, where you can activate your charge melee when sliding to blink forward and call down lightning strikes that jolt enemies. I really do like this aspect a lot. I would strongly recommend you keep this on and only use this melee with that, because the standard melee ability just doesn't work well enough on its own in endgame PvE. For the fragments, we have Spark of Beacons, while amplified Arc special weapons will cause blinding explosions. This is why you want to run a good special weapon, and I believe this actually works on Trinity Ghoul as well, even though it's not a special weapon. We also have Spark of Resistance. While surrounded, you take less damage. Spark of Recharge. While critically wounded, your abilities recharge quicker. And Spark of Discharge. Arc weapon final blows have a chance to create an Ionic Trace. For now, these are the fragments we'll be using, but as we unlock new ones, I'm probably going to make a few changes, but I will get an updated build out when that time comes. Now the exotic armor we're going to use with this build is going to be the Crown of Tempests, because arc ability or jolt final blows will increase the recharge rate of your arc abilities and extend the duration of Stormtrance. Of course, if you are going with a Chaos Reach build, then perhaps use the Geomag Stabilizers. You could even use Stormdancer's Brace or Getaway Artist as the other two exotic choices, but you will have to mess around with the build design a little, so today we're going to go with the Crown as a full arc ability build. The main mods we have firstly are Radiant Light to get the plus 20 to strength, so this will require you to run an arc mod as well. Then we have Elemental Ordnance to spawn in arc wells on grenade kills. You can use this or Melee Wellmaker, whichever you prefer, but then we'll use those wells generated on Font of Might for the extra arc weapon DPS. The next mod we have is Reaping Wellmaker to spawn in a Void Well when we get a kill with our weapon after using our Rift, and then using that well on Wealth Tenacity, we will take less damage from enemies. For the normal mods back in the helmet, we have the Hands On for extra super energy on melee kills. I'm mainly using this for the Radiant Light's secondary perk to activate, but the Gauntlets, we have our champion mods that you need. If you don't need them, then swap it out to a grenade kickstart, as that will help you get your grenade back a lot quicker. Chest armor, we have the new Thermoshock plating damage resist mod. Leg armor, we have the better already and our scavenger mod. And then lastly in the class, we are running surge detonators so that our arc grenades can stop overloads. And then bad amplitude so that damaging champions with those abilities will cause them to become jolted. A pretty good setup, but in terms of what stats you want, I'd go with 100 resilience, 100 discipline, and then if you can, 100 strength or recovery. Now overall, this build isn't the best build in the game, but so far for an early season build, it's not a bad build for the Arc subclass this season, and it's probably the best you're going to get for the Stormcaller at this moment in time, until new fragments and mods become available. But it's still a really good build to use in endgame PvE, and it just completely obliterates everything in your path, as you can just keep chaining the arc damage to adds around you using those abilities. And the best part is using the Crown exotic, you can get those abilities back almost instantly as long as there are adds around to kill. So honestly guys, give this build a chance, or let me know what you prefer to run with the Arc 3.0 Warlock subclass this season, because I'd love to hear what mods and exotics you're all mixing with this thing. Personally though, I'm probably going to stick with my Void build for the Warlock, specifically for the Devour, as getting health back in activities is far better than killing adds quickly with abilities. And besides, you can do that with Void anyway too, and I will have a new updated Void and Solar build out for you Warlocks soon, so stay tuned for that. But guys, that is all for this new Arc 3.0 Warlock build in Destiny 2 Witch Queen Season 18, or Season of Plunder. Next, as always, don't forget to check out the full playlist link down below if you want to see more amazing and top fun builds to use this season. Or if you want to see updated builds for the other subclasses, then stay tuned, because I do create builds like this every week here on the channel. And guys, until then, have a good one, go storm, call some ads, and I'll see you all in the next build video for part 4. Peace out guys.